Radio check. Radio check. Everything's working, which means we are about to start European Racing Organizations TS F1 British Grand Prix. Which means there is no Arena Penrose in this race, by the way, if you're wondering. There is no Enzo Sabaton as well. But there is Francesco Lago currently sitting third in the championship after first race. That means Francesco has a great chance to take the lead of the championship, which might be exciting considering the absence of top 2. However, enough of that stuff, let's focus on actual race, which is going to happen soon. As usual, my name is Wojciech Śmigowski and I am the owner of European Racing Organization and also Season 10 PSF1 commentator. We've got 17 drives in total today, which is a decent attendance, although not our dreams though. I would love full grid every single week, but stuff happens to people and they cannot unfortunately attend. Thankfully, all of the people have actually joined. We'll also be having one PSF2 driver today in the name of Paul Nadler, probably, as he's reported to join the lobby, although he's a little bit late. However, as I can tell, the session is about to start. And I am personally really looking forward to this PlayStation F1 Grand Prix. British Grand Prix, as you might know, has given us plenty of action throughout the years. Not to mention 2022, through goes Hamilton. Not to mention 2023, the McLaren making wonders. Not to mention 2021, where something happened at Cops. Or 2020 puncture drama. And also League Racing. Because we've seen, oh my days, and I already know what's coming. So, maybe quickly saying, Ero has seen Season 4 battling to the line. I personally raced in Season 6 with Liam Cross at Silverstone for like 10 laps straight, almost side by side all the time. Or, basically, this track gives us Greek racing. Or carnages, if we say about Lap 1, Season 8 PSF1. Which is crossplay lobby, by the way. And, in my opinion, with that, it's finally time to start. Is the game working? Yep, it's actually working, and I can hear the speaker, the stadium announcer, if we can call it stadium announcer, talking about some random facts.
Max Verstappen managed to finish 81% of his races on the podium in 2021. Still though, Michael Schumacher holds the record for highest percentage, when in 2002, Schumacher finished on the podium in every race he participated in, making it 100%.
Yep, I had to listen to that one. Very interesting, Mr. Stadium Announcer. Unfortunately, you are not talking fun facts about ERO, so we'll focus on, for example, Enzo Tabani, who's one of the first ones to go onto track in bloody wet conditions around Silverstone, as Enzo Tabani is actually the first one to go out on track. The French driver who actually got a decent P3 in the qualifying last week, around P3, you can always correct me in the chat, has unfortunately got a very bad race overall, but at least got the fastest lap in the Belgian Grand Prix, which got him that one championship point. As if you're wondering, if you've got the fastest lap, and even if you're outside top 10, you can still get a point. You just need to finish the race. You need to get classified, which is 90% of the race distance of the lead lap, if you're wondering. However, I'm looking at this grid. We're still awaiting Lucky Clow, known as Paul Nadler, the two-time PSF champion, who made. Also, congratulations, Enzo, for ruining your lap at the very start. But Paul Nadler has won 2 PSF championships, Season 8 and Season 9, with all assists on. That includes full traction, that includes anti-lock brakes, that includes gearbox, that includes racing line. For F1 23, he switched into line only. And now in Silverstone, he was doing time trials with around 25.3 as a result. With no line, by the way, that is. With line, he can go into like 24s. Which means he's got decent pace. I wouldn't say he's going to challenge Francesco Lago or Michael Angelian. But a point or two may come into his account. As we've got already 40 minutes to go as we're watching Enzo Tabani. I'll be having a look on PC F1 how it's going. As I can already tell that everyone wants Paul to win. Or at least this is what I assume from your reactions. Looking at PCF1 though, unfortunately only 14 drivers did today, but the problem is there were supposed to be like 18. So I don't understand where the drivers have gone. And definitely there will be some unreported absences hopping in. I'm having a very quick look into that. As all of the PCF2 reserves hopped in, whereas Enzo Tabani, he's just approaching last corner, so I believe he's going to be the first one to make a lap today. Yep, and I know the missing people. 2 of them to be exact, at least. Nobody else, in all fairness. As Enzo made a 39.8, but definitely it's going to be improved. Definitely not by the McLaren who has just approached the main straight. But Max was not improving that one as well. 40.4. These conditions are proving to be really challenging. I mean, if this was real Formula 1, we would have a red flag straight away. We wouldn't even start the session, just we're doing qualifying on Sunday morning and everyone has to agree to it and we didn't ask for your opinion. Fortunately, this game allows for a little bit more, and that little bit more is, you know what? We don't care it's soaking wet, just go racing, just go qualifying and set the best lap times, although you'll see absolutely nothing ahead of you or behind you. Basically, if you want to know how to see behind you, basically look at the mirrors. Or just, there is this type of view. Enough of that, as more and more drivers are crossing the line, as Morgan here makes 40.9, Ludwig Stabek 41.5. One of McLaren is crossing the line. That is Leon Baumgarten. First race of PSF1 for him this season. After missing out on Belgium, 41.2. We're watching Jacob Tucker as Enzo Tabani makes it 39.1. Placing him on provisional pole position. Antonio Vissi with brilliant lap time of 51.7, by the way. More and more drivers are completing their laps. As there's only 5 people yet to start lap. One of them is Chibugan Chukfuma, who is yet to go out of the pits. He's sitting this one in this qualifying session, and probably doesn't care about getting into the front. We'll start last, wait for the carnage, hopefully it doesn't happen, although I just jinxed it. And we'll just start from the back and suddenly get like P8 in like 2 corners. We'll see about that, as the Alfa Romeo are the only drivers yet to stay on track and make a qualifying lap time. As Jacob Tucker goes third, 39.8, although he's no match for both Enzo and Francesco. Do not mess the Enzo Tabani with Enzo Sabaton. Enzo Sabaton is not racing today, the P2 in the championship. Enzo Tabani is racing though. How about Kalle Pulkkinen? He's the last one who still is on track and is still to make a lap time. Multiple drivers, I don't think they are all going to the pits. They are just using one set of wets as Kalle Pulkkinen makes a second row lockout for the Alfa Romeo. There's only 4 drivers to make it to the 39s, but I believe 38s are a matter of time. Or maybe even 37s, because I've seen Enzo Tabani going to the pits, and the rain seemingly getting lighter by quite a fair bit. Also, looking at the questions with the chat, as most of the drivers are about to come to the pit lane, However, I'd like to have a look at Duncan Falcon. For him, it's an Ero F1 debut today. Making currently 10th place in the qualifying, as Leon Baumgarten currently is in Sector 2, his teammate, who is a full-time driver, by the way. Looking at more drivers about to cross the line, I think one of them is Williams of Francesco Lago, losing 2/10 on his best lap time so far, as Maxim Rodriguez and Panos Nikolaidis have outscored both Alfa Romeo drivers. But Jacob Tucker doesn't give this one up, making it 3 drivers within the 10 from 3rd to 5th. As watching your comments, yup, I did enjoy the PSF2 commentary, although two drivers of Jess Kalpen and Alex Wells, brilliant racing into lap 1, that was. As Jacob is approaching Wellington straight into Sector 2. Caleb Lukinen goes for provisional pole position, but it's still 9 minutes to go, so we are not actually bothered with this one because there may be like 10 improvements in like the next minute. One of them definitely being Leon Baumgarten, getting himself tuned in with 40.1. And next up to cross the line is potentially Duncan Falcon, 7/10 up on his lap time, making him go P10, so just behind his teammate. But he's invalidated. What a brilliant invalidation, just slightly invalidated, as Paul Nadler joins us finally for this qualifying session. And we've got the Alpine of Maxim Rodriguez approaching the pits as well. Maxim actually doing decent in this one, with 6th place so far. Ludwig Stahlberg, although he's got 10-second time penalty for a collision with his teammate, so Günther Steiner definitely had to organize a little bit of a chat between him. That's not a penalty for Duncan. Nothing happened there, in all fairness. Anyways. Most of the drivers are approaching the pits. I wonder if Caleb Lukinen will. He's not improving, at least this is what we've been told. We are not told about at all if he's improving or not. As he's approaching the pit lane as well. The only one pit is Leon Baumgarten, as the first drivers are coming out of the pit lane, and these are inter tires, so I definitely was right thinking about the rain getting lighter, so we are not getting soaking wet, we are just getting wet, and wet weather conditions, of course. And Enzo is the first one to try them out, just like the Inters. 2nd place after the first round of qualifying on the wets, but definitely we're getting into like, I don't know, 36, 37, definitely. But we'll see about that as Enzo Tabani approaches the turn 3 with a little bit of a slide, in all fairness. He's going to approach a Mercedes of Michael Engelian and his teammate for today's race, Paul Nadler, as well. There's also a Haas of Morgan Mathieu. As Enzo is currently pushing into Cups, the famous corner in Formula 1. Recent history as well. He goes wide but doesn't validate. Enzo, we've seen that unfortunately, so it would be better for you to back out of it and start it another lap or improve later on, and we'll see nothing. He's improving by 3/10 only though, so I wasn't right thinking about 37s, 36s. Enzo is currently pushing into the final corner. The club chicane, as long as I remember correctly. And Enzo actually gets worse by nearly 2 seconds, so he probably listened to us, knowing that he went wide in Cups. Looking for more drivers about to cross the line. That is Maxim Rodriguez, but for a hot lap to start it. Paul Nadler is right ahead of Enzo Tabani. But I'm looking for drivers who are already on the lap and like Sector 3, and I don't see any in all fairness. Maybe Michael Engelian. No, he's just approached Sector 2. Where is Maxim Rodriguez? Maxim Rodriguez in Sector 1, as I brutally forgot, as Enzo is 7 tenths up on his lap time now. We watch the potential pole sitter, as Kalle Pulkinen's only pole position was under wet conditions in Australia. Into Maggots and Beckett, really swiftly, really quickly, smoothly as well. Which is something I definitely cannot replicate. Over 2 seconds up on his lap time, Enzo Tabani, which means he is on a great chance of actually getting this one on provisional pole by a decent margin. But you have to remember, of the lap times that have been set already are wet. And also, welcome Chibuko Chukwuma, who's actually going out on track and maybe even going to set a lap time. As Michael Engelian goes second, Margot Mathieu first, and that is going to be easily outscored by Enzo Tabani, 36.1. And that's a new provisional pole position with, I believe, like 6 minutes to go. Not entirely sure. 3 minutes, so I've skipped a bit. Maxim Rodriguez, 37.3, placing himself on the 3rd place in this wet Silverstone qualifying. As Francesco Lago invalidated in the meantime. Francesco is about to start yet another run in this qualifying, although he's just lost a 10th to his wet tires lap time. Nassim Asnit sensationally a little bit, goes 2nd fastest, but remember, there is still plenty of time. The track is going to dry out a little bit, even though it's barely raining at this point. Zanetti, 36.5, haven't spoken of him, as Alessandro Zanetti, granted seat last season in PSF1, is actually racing in Season 10 as well, and staying in the Ferrari, looking maybe even for like top 5 finish at the end of the season. How about the championship as well? We'll see about that later on, as Morgan Martin just outscores him for the 2nd. Haas is doing pretty well, so Gunther Steiner probably made some order in the team, and the Haas are doing pretty well right now, but still remember, there's plenty of time left in this qualifying session, as Paul Nadler is spun on the final chicane, so congratulations. We've got one of the Aston Martins about to cross the line. That is Federico Olano, who's going to cross the line with 37.4, placing him on the 9th. Next up, there's an Alpine of Rodriguez, but he did not improve his lap time. Francesco Lago still on the P14 only though. Same as Visey on 16th, as Panasiclidis goes 4th. Where's one of these Williams cars? That is Anthony Visey. Over 2 seconds of improvement compared to his best lap time. Now goes 3rd all of a sudden with 36.4. The Alpha Tauri of Nassim Asnit crossing line to get 3rd. This is going to be an intense one. Let's see if one of the Alfa Romeos about to cross the line. That is Jacob Tucker, but he's invalidated. Francesco Lago invalidated yet again. And has probably one final run. Yes, that is his final chance to actually make any improvements on this lap. He isn't going to start P16 though. Duncan Falcon also pushing on his final run. These are the final runs of the qualifying. So if you mess this one up, you will not have another chance, as Ludwig Stabek is getting another one as well for him. Morgan Mathieu about to cross the line as well, but probably charging his battery on this one. Looking at the Mercedes of Michael Engelian, having an Alfa Romeo of Kalle Pulkin right behind him, who's improving by over a second. Michael Engelian goes nowhere, but Kalle Pulkinen goes on provisional pole so far. We've also got Chibuka Chokfuma about to cross the line, but to start a lap, who's next? That is one of the McLarens. That should be, well, we don't know, but there's plenty of drivers crossing the line now. Paul Nadler just jumping over Francesco Lago, one of the Aston Martins about to cross the line as well. That is Panos. We can also see Francesco Lago pushing for purple sector 2, over 3 seconds up on his lap time. He's the only one not even in the 37s. And he's currently starting last on the grid, so he really needs to get a good one now if he wants to get over this final position, as Visay and Aznit have both finished the qualifying session. Jacob Tucker will stay P15, although he was on front for a bit of time in this qualifying. Francesco Lago goes pole with 34.8, which is brilliant. One of the McLaren's about to cross the line. That is Duncan Falcon, who goes third fastest, so that is brilliant for the one who's just getting his ERPS F1 debut, but Alessandro Zanetti improves that time by half a second. How about Morgan Mattia? Half a second down on his lap time as well. May even go ahead of his teammate Ludwig Stahlberg. They've got a collision in Belgium. Hopefully they're over it and will focus on the great result for the team. And that is decent result. 4th place for Morgan Mathieu. We've got also Kalle Pulkkinen improving by 2/10 on his lap. There's one of the Mercedes drivers right ahead of him. That is Michael Engelian. He's about to cross the line to get position number 5. Kalle Pulkkinen just crashes out on 4th. Jimmy Chukfuma about to cross the line as well. Goes 6th fastest, just ahead of his teammate. As we've got also Federico Lano 5th, Leon Baumgarten 7th. Where is Panos Nikolaidis? Panos Nikolaidis is on the final corner, and him and Enzo Tebani are the only ones to make a lap. But Enzo Tebani is causing yellow flags, and Panos goes P13. That means Francesco Lago is on pole position for the first time in his Ero career. He's got a podium in Spa. How about the British Grand Prix, where with 0.3 of a second of advantage in qualifying, it may as well actually show us that first win today is really, really possible. Most of you have said that Kalle Pulkkinen or someone else is going to win, so definitely not Antoni or Francesco. Although Williams drivers are both ends of the field, and Mercedes drivers separate the McLaren drivers, who separate the Haas drivers, who separate the Aston Martin drivers. Have you seen this? From 6th to 13th. This is brilliant order, though. It's time to end the poll, in all fairness. We all know the result. These are the qualifying results, if you really want to, as Jacob Tucker, not happy with his qualifying results, basically asks Paul Nadler if he wants to exchange seats. Basically, Paul Nadler has... No way. He's just outscored Jacob Tucker in his first no assist race in qualifying. Although they are both over a second behind the rest. Almost for pole. Although we've got 2 Welsh flags on pole position for whatever reason. Although we've got an Italian and a French being on the front row. Then we've got Alessandro Zanetti, Maximo Rodriguez, Kalle Pulkkinen, Federico Lano, Mathieu, Baumgarten, Chukfuma, Engelian, Falcon, Stahlberg, Nikolaidis, Visay, Aznit, Nadler, and Tucker. That is the field for today's British Grand Prix, which, knowing how the races are going there, is going to be brilliant. At least this is what I believe. Jacob Tucker claims he's just for vibes there. This is from PSF1 chat, if you're wondering, so that is brilliant. As we are getting beautiful sunny weather, so I might suspect there's at least one guy who's inserted a wet setup, a setup for the wet weather conditions. And he's going to lose quite a bit of time in this qualifying, as we're waiting for players, which means the time is already going. We are not doing our play from season 8 and 9 of ERPC F1, where we were checking what kind of tires the drivers have gone into. This is the only one for today, by the way. If you got an advertisement of for any reason, only one. So don't worry, just skip it after 5 seconds. Anyways, we're about to start the British Grand Prix in the RPS F1. There was only one race, so our independent who leads the championship ahead of Enzo Sabaton, and both are not racing today, unfortunately. And there's Francesco Lago racing, who's currently on the third, and is looking to get that championship lead and some sort of an advantage into the rest of Ero's Season 10. How long are we going to wait for these players, though? Are they just cooking with the strategy options? This is now the question we're all asking to Formula 1 drivers. Maybe the lobby is stuck, which means we might have a restart. Yeah, drivers are questioning if anyone has decided to ready up, so this is going for suspiciously long, which means we might order a lobby restart anytime soon. I don't know where this is going. Are they just waiting for so long? Yep, we're actually racing. We've got 3, 4, 5 red lights ahead of the drivers. And it's going to be lights out, and away we go. No formation lap. Francesco Lago gets a great start ahead of Enzo Tabani. Then we've got a Ferrari of Zanetti and Alpine of Maxim Rodriguez. These two have been racing wheel to wheel into turn 1, but Zanetti is the one ahead as Enzo Tabani tries to go for a move down the inside of Francesco Lago. However, it all goes well so far, but Maxim Rodriguez on the soft tires is definitely going to look for an opportunity to attack the drivers in the top 2, as he's already overtaken Zanetti. Tabani is about to make a move on Francesco Lago into left field. As you can tell, they are side by side into this complex of corners, as Maxim Rodriguez tries to go for a way to find a way through to get into the lead of this Grand Prix. They are now side by side into cops. This is not going to end well, as Maxim Rodriguez is using all of his power ahead of Tabani, now ahead of Francesco Lago to take the lead of the British Grand Prix. Brilliant stuff from Maxim Rodriguez in the lap 1 of the British Grand Prix. And now Enzo Tabani goes ahead of Francesco Lago as well, so not the greatest start for the Williams driver. However, it's the Alpine and front from 4th to 1st. And Enzo Sabaton, his teammate, is definitely going to be happy with that, as Enzo Tabani, using a little bit of ERS, getting closer and closer on Maxim Rodriguez, but he knows that Maxim's tires are going to wear out really quickly, which means he doesn't really have to fight him at the start of the Grand Prix, and will have a strategic advantage into later parts of today's Grand Prix. Everyone's gone well so far in this lap 1. I don't think there's any damage, so that is surprising. If you are doubting if there's clean racing in ERO, well, I hope Nassim and Jacob are getting a good one now with Ludwig Stahlbeck, who had got a penalty last week, but this time he's backed out of it. Yeah, we've got 1 lap and 1 sector of clean racing so far, although Ludwig is just looking for a move on Jacob Tucker every single opportunity that arises. Lucky Cloud, Paul Nadler is definitely watching this one. But if anyone was doubting if there's clean racing in the arrow, there we go. Lap 1.5 with absolutely 0 damage. Maxim Rodriguez already nearly nearly a second ahead of Enzo Tabani. And if we can already see that the top 6 has gone away from the rest of the field in 1.5 laps already. Morgan Mathieu, 1.4 seconds ahead of Michael Engelian. So we're going to have 2 DRS trains today. As Maxim Rodriguez remembers this track, as this is one of the races, this is one of the places where he's won 9 races in a row. Not like in 9 consecutive seasons, but there was a season 4 in PSF1 tier, where this guy has won 9 races straight, got a 3rd place at the start of the podium streak in Japan, and at the end of it at Monza, and this is how we got the championship, because he hasn't got any other points. 2 3rd places and 9 1st places. And now he's about to win. It's lap 3, what are we talking about? But he's leading the Grand Prix. Instead of having DRS on Maxim. He is having DRS, but he's barely in that DRS. Which means Maxim can just go away freely if he gets a couple of good corners, as Leon Baumgarten tries to go ahead of Federico Olano, who had his PSF1 debut in here back when it was a crossplay lobby, and basically it was carnage back in Season 8 in Lap 1, and basically the crossplay lobbies do not work. Thankfully you've got only one crossplay team, which is also going pretty well. I've seen that there is going to be nearly a full grid already, and it's Sunday, 2 days after we've launched an attendance poll, which was launched right after the race, as Leon Baumgarten chasing down Federico Olano. This is the action we're actually watching right now. Or maybe Panos Nicolai is very close to Chibuki Chukwuma. So one the Aston Martin is trying to attack, and the second is trying to defend. And Michael Engelian just leads this train of drivers. Morgan Mattia fell off a little bit. He's lost the DRS to Kalle Pulkkinen and is about to give Michael Engelian some DRS, as Panos Nikolaidis will not go down the inside in this one. Yep, Morgan is definitely... no, he's not out of DRS. How did he get one here? I'm wondering, as Morgan currently chasing down Kalle Pulkkinen. At least this is what we can tell. Last week, unfortunate DNF due to a collision with his teammate, which was, by the way, the only report for that day. And it ended up with a penalty for his teammates, 10 seconds to be exact. But Morgan really has a potential for like P6, P7 in these races, as Anthony Visse, for whatever reason, is spun round. Now there's... no, Morgan Mathias gone as well. Mathias gone as well into the gravel, so we've got 2 spins in one go. Unfortunate for Morgan, as he's now going to go probably to the pits. He spun by himself because the gap between him and the rest of the drivers was 1 second. He was on no man's land, as we watch Jacob Tucker, Oliver being cautious, or slightly, very slightly being forced off track by Duncan Falcon, who, fortunately for us, has decided to back out. And it's already flashing, which means he's got little to no ERS, and he nearly gets a spin. Anthony Visse, as predicted, is out of the session after this 5-second time for spinning in the pit lane. Morgan Mattia keeps fighting, never gives up. And this might bring him some points today, as Chibuki Chukwuma loses place to Panos Nikolaidis, and Federico Olano loses place to Leon Baumgarten. And as we're following the top 5, which we haven't checked in for a while now, this pack has connected all together. Maxim Rodriguez lost the pace on the soft tires. Let's see the tires, by the way. Maxim is the only soft runner in here. And he's going to be overtaken by Enzo Tebani anytime soon. He knows not to waste any more time behind a soft runner. However, he's lifting off into stall, which means he really doesn't want to overtake. He's happy to stay within the DRS of Maxim Rodriguez. These are the esports tactics, if you're wondering. I'm not really familiar with these ones, as my career ended at ERPS F2, which is where I spent basically 6 seasons. But Enzo will be looking for a move on Maxim Rodriguez. Is Maxim Rodriguez going to play some part of trying to give DRS? No, Enzo Tebani goes down the inside and takes the lead. No, almost takes the lead so far. Now currently will to will with Maxim Rodriguez. He has got DRS, which means a massive advantage for him, which means he's ahead of Maxim for permanent basis, I believe. Although Maxim is using a bit of ERS, but he's also losing out on Francesco Lago, who's going to go around the outside of the French driver. They are still will to will for position number 2, and Francesco takes it, although Maxim has got that inside line, but I think Francesco is going to have just a little bit better exit. They've already been will to will here in lap 1. However, this time Maxim backs out, knows his tires are not the best now, and gives up a position to Francesco Lago as Ludwig Staberg makes a move on Jacob Tucker. not on the DRS zone, so that is very interesting. Now, is Francesco Lago going to make a move on Enzo Tabani? That is something interesting for the strategist. Is he going to make that one? Because we've seen him lifting off in previous lap ends, in previous race, and he's doing the same here. He's happy to stay behind Enzo Tabani so far, maybe hoping for an undercut later on, or overcut. We'll see about the strategist later in this race, as the drivers who are behind the top 5 train are not catching up and even are losing more time, despite the fact that, for example, Francesco Lago lifts off and doesn't really want to overtake Enzo Tabani. Just like Enzo Tabani did once on Maxime Rodriguez. Morgan Mathieu, although he keeps fighting, never gives up. He's losing a little bit of time. He was 17.2 behind, now he's 8 seconds behind the rest of the field. Also appreciation post for Paul Nadler, who is having his first race with no assists, and lap 7 he's still in this DRS group. So maybe he will go no line on the permanent basis really shortly. And season 11, we might see him on PSF1 grid. You've got too many PSF3 championships with all assists. And it's actually time for you to develop as a better driver. Maybe get signed by an ERO team. He's actually signed by an ERO team. Although I don't really like calling it signing. I'd rather just being a part of our team that races in F1 Total, for example. Got a podium yesterday. That was Paul, by the way, with 3rd place. So guys just got 2 British Grand Prix in one day, as Francesco Lago actually goes ahead of Enzo Tabani and doesn't waste any time. Takes the lead of the British Grand Prix. Enzo Tabani, he was faking going to the pit, as Nassim Aznit and Chibuko Chukuma are fighting there. And, Francesco having a problem there, probably got a little bit of a tap from Enzo Tabani, who's lost now 3 places, drops all the way to P5, and guess who's joined the party? That is Michael Engelian, with Leon Baumgarten and Federico Olano, who are all now in the touch of DRS of Enzo Tabani, who, remember, is still within DRS of Kalle Pulkkinen, so that is great news for racing-wise, as Enzo is already caught up by 3/10 to Kalle Pulkkinen. We've seen him going off track on the final chicane, and now he's lost all the places to 5th. We'll be chasing down the top 4. Maxime Rodriguez still is in that. He's still involved. He's not even losing half a second to Francesco Lago, so he might use all the power he's got. He's got half of the ERS battery available. Looking at Alessandro Zanetti, also a half. Kalle Pulkkinen decided not to use a single bit, apart from now. As Paul Nadler, we've appreciated his great debut, and now he's behind Morgan Mathieu and back into last place. Although he never was last, because he was ahead of Jacob Tuck in qualifying. And he's not going to be last here as well, as Anthony Wiss is retired already. Enzo Tabani, not the greatest of entries into Stowe, as Ludwig Starbeck makes a move on Duncan Falcon, who also placed Nassim Aznit as well. Can we go back to the top though, as Alessandro Zanetti is the chasing down Maxime Rodriguez. You can see how close he is to Maxro, as Kalle Pulkkinen is the same close as well on this medium tire compound. Alessandro now going to use DRS. Maxime, he's keeping up really well with Francesco Lago, but Alessandro doesn't want to waste time. He's going down inside of Maxime Rodriguez, wheel to wheel, into left field. And now they are still side by side, although Alessandro got the outside line, but will stay behind Maxime Rodriguez for the 3rd place now. However, he's still going to challenge him. Is he going for a move into Cops? No, he knows, he thinks better of it. As for those wondering why I spoke Luffield, Luffield is that right-hander hairpin after Wellington Straight. Before that there's Brooklands, and I really like to mess the corners names up. Which isn't great for me though. But Maxime Rodriguez, well, wait a second, Kalle Pulkkinen just been overtaken by Enzo Tabani. There is yellow flags, that is Duncan Falcon, who's retired on track. That is the second retirement of today. I don't know if he hit the wall so heavily he's gone back on track after retiring. Or was that actually a retirement on track by clicking a button? And I guess we'll know if it gets reported. Or maybe Morgan with Paul have seen that. Though Morgan has just recovered by a second. Is Alessandro going to make him off on Maxim Rodriguez? No, he stays in third still as long as Maxim tires are keeping up. And they are keeping up stupid well with 9 laps already. But there is a contact between him and Alessandro. Alessandro uses that as a little bit of push to pass. Now he's being slightly pushed by Enzo Tabani as well for position number 2. Now the two drivers, Ferrari and Red Bull, are side by side into Cops. And Enzo Tabani is the one ahead of Alessandro, but this might not end well, as Kalpukin thinks better of it, decided to stay behind the group that is fighting. Francesco Lago has an open way to win this race, as he's 1.7 seconds ahead of Maxim Rodriguez, who's now going to be overtaken by Enzo Tabani. And I think Alessandro Tabani, yes, he's joining the party down the inside of the Cops to get that third place, and will be chasing down Enzo Tabani as well, who's also got 3-second time penalty, if you're wondering, for multiple warnings for track limits. Maxim Rodriguez goes to the pits, probably for the hard tires, till the end of this Grand Prix. As Michael Gillian has joined the DRS train fully now. Maxim Rodriguez is going to come out on last. Behind him and Paul Nadler. We'll see how many places he can gain before all of these drivers will pit. Got a great start, but lost places on the meantime. As these tires quickly ran out of the best. They were out of the best really shortly, as Kalle Pulkkinen, although he's got mediums, they are still fine, I believe. He's still behind Alessandro Zanetti. Kevin hasn't done any overtakes this race, apart from the one on Instapani while he's done a mistake. Matenzo re-overtook him really quickly. Hasn't used any bit of ERS in this race. Maybe apart from like 0.1 seconds of overtake mode, which I don't know what it really gives to the driver. I wonder if Alessandro Zanetti as well will just stay. Chukfuma's out. Don't know what happened there, but he's retired on track as well. You can tell that there's a Mercedes car on the exit of Club Corner. Thankfully he's gone off track, so I think Maxim Rodriguez will have no problems with that one. Yep, Chirikham has just gone off. I think something might have happened that isn't a collision. As Alessandro Zanetti is still chasing down Enzo Tabani, which, by the way, who by the way regained 4 tenths on Francesco Lago. Leon Baumgarten fakes, then goes to the pits. Fakes he's staying out, goes to the pit lane for the hard tires. Same as Panos Nikolaidis. Promotes Ludwig Starbeck into 7th. As these two will come out of the pits behind Maxim. So P second last and P last. Checking on the top field, top runners though, the front runners. And the bunny is about to get DRS, sorry, on Francesco Lago. So Francesco Lago didn't really use that advantage. And the bunny might be the fastest driver on the grid right now, even including Aurelian and Max and Enzo Sabaton. I can tell by the fact he's already regained the DRS, although he's not got DRS yet, but he's already less than a second behind the Williams. That is a Mercedes going to the pits. That is Michael and Geldian. Who is about to, I believe, pick the medium tires and go out on them, which we'll see in a very short moment. He does go on the mediums. And he's going to come out behind Maxim Rodriguez and Paul Nadler, ahead of Nikolaidis and Baumgarten. Fair enough. You just need to overtake Paul. And then you'll be on your position, I believe. Maxim was involved in that DRS chain. Wait, is Maxim on mediums actually? Yeah, he is. He's taking a very risky strategy. As Kalapukinen is slowly losing touch to the top 3, that is. He's still really close to that DRS. He's still in DRS, but he's like 7 tenths down. As Enzo Tabani is chasing down Francesco Lago actively, and now he's trying to make that move for the lead of the Grand Prix, and Alessandro Zanetti is kinda original here. Goes to the pits for an undercut, which means he might take the lead of the Grand Prix later on. Especially he's going on since the fact he's going on the mediums, which are going to be fresh and ready to chase down that race win he's yet to get in Ero F1. Alongside him, Federico Lano and Jacob Tucker joined the pits. Also love the fact that Enzo Tabani is still on 5th gear on the steering wheel, but that is a minor detail. Maxim Rodriguez jumps all the way to P6, way ahead of Alessandro Zanetti. Is Maxim on course for a win here, in all fairness? Let's see, as they are going out of the pits, as Michael and Alessandro are fighting side by side into Abbey, on the exit of Abbey. Sorry, Village. Paul Nadler still is ahead of these two drivers, but he's going to be overtaken. So first by Michael, then by Alessandro, and now these two are left alone to fight for position number 7 for now. But provisionally, we need to take the fact that top 5 is yet to go to the pits. And guess what? Maxim Rodriguez, if we see the leader gap, he's on the lead of the race right now. Especially considering the fact Enzo Tabani made a move on Francesco Lago. And is one of these two going to the pits? Yeah, that is Enzo going to the pits. And he's going to be behind Maxim Rodriguez. Maxim is on course to actually win for the first time since Season 4. You have to count that also Ludwig Stabek 5-second time penalty for spinning the pit lane. Congratulations, as alongside him pitted Kalle Pulkkinen and Nasty Maznit. Maxim Rodriguez in the P2. This is simply brilliant. Brilliant news for the Alpine. Disaster of a return in Belgian Grand Prix, DNF, couple of collisions. Simply T-boning Kasper Kolasa on the bus stop chicane. Now he's second, and now he's chasing down first place. 24 seconds of a gap. Is it enough for Max to have comfort in the last 10 laps of the race and comfortably win Ero F1 British Grand Prix? It's 24 seconds. We'll be watching that gap closely. Maxim Rodriguez goes on 5 laps old mediums now. is chasing down Francesco Lago, already 23.8. The gap between him and Michal is around 5 seconds, 4 seconds actually. But it's more than enough. Also, we have to count that Enset Bunny and Kalpulkin both have gone for the soft tires, which means they might get impatient and some mess might be going on. Francesco currently comfortably leading by 23 seconds, but he's about to go to the pits. If you want some big gaps in league racing victories, go back to Miami Grand Prix in PSF1 in Season 8, where Giro and Visa has won by around 25 seconds. That was pure domination from him. Kalpulkinen now, although on the softs, unable to overtake Alessandro, although Alessandro taking creative lines on the loop, or actually village. That is the loop actually. I need to learn the corner names in all fairness. It's Zanetti chasing down Michal and Gallian, very close, but not close enough to make any overtakes. Federico Olano actually makes an overtake and show how it's done, although it's hard to see from behind how the overtake is going to be made. Federico Olano in 7th, and Willem Baumgarten will be using tire advantage because he's got mediums. These are fresh, these are quick. Willem Baumgarten has got fresh but hards, which are slower, if you're wondering. But last longer at least. And he's going to overtake Federico soon, unless he bottles the Maggots and Beckett's. And on the exit of Chapelle, into Hangar Straight, Michal Gallian is overtaken by 2 people at one go. Pulkin and Zanetti, former teammates in a Ferrari in Season 9, fighting alongside each other. Now Michal is fighting Kalle side by side for position number 5. And Michal is just ahead with a little bit of a contact, but just ahead of Kalle Pulkinen. For those thinking that Francesco is dominating the race and have just come to the stream, Francesco is yet to pit for probably the soft tires at this point. Nothing else will pay off. As Kalle Pulkinen now fighting Michael back, Maxim Rodriguez being overtaken by Enzo Tabani, so his strategy, although it was great, doesn't work so far. But remember, Enzo has a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings for track limits. Morgan Mathieu joins the club. Very unlucky start of the season for him though. Enzo and Max are basically left alone. Zanetti is 1.3 seconds behind, 1.4. Both drivers are chasing down. Francesco Lago is not going to be chased down anymore as he's going to the pit. Now we'll see at what position does he come out of the pit lane. It may be pretty much anything from definitely not first. He's just crossed the line to start lap 19. Nobody's going to the pits, which is kinda logical, considering the fact everyone has done it already. Enzo makes the fast lap of the Grand Prix, and he is already 1 point... Wait, no way he's already 3 seconds ahead of Max Road. That would be unreal. That is 1.7, which is still massive. Maxim Rodriguez needs to push if he wants to get that victory in today's race, because although Enzo has got 3-second time penalty, he's actually 2 seconds ahead already. And Francesco Lago comes back on 7th, between Olano and Baumgarten. But this overtake is going to be quick and easy. For position number 6. Although he might not finish on even 5th though, because the gap between him and Gallian is 3.7. Which is not the great news for someone who was leading the race by 2 seconds at the starting point of the race. Not like the very start, but later on. Enzo Tabani is simply being the fastest lap driver on the grid right now. Get him to esports. Although I'm just putting unnecessary pressure on the talented driver, as we've got Zanetti making a move on Maxim Rodriguez. There's a contact, and thankfully all of the drivers left it unscathed, although Kalpukin had to go off track and even gave the position back to Michał Engel. There was probably damage for him. What an unfortunate disaster for Kalpukin. This nearly ended up in a disaster, and thankfully ended up just being a little bit of an incident. I think Kale goes for softs and will start from the chase from the last place, hoping for a late safety car. That nearly ended up in a carnage. But thankfully these drivers are skilled enough not to make a carnage out of it. Which I pretty much got scared at this point. Also, thanks for your activity on the chat, especially to Matthew Wrightson. He's definitely enjoying this one. Nearly ended up in the disaster though, but I'm watching if Alessandro Zanti can catch up to Enzo Tabani, whose soft tires should be wearing out now. The reason for that, they're already 5 laps old. And the tire wear versus tire performance on this F123 is kind of linear. That is, it has really good pace, and then there is a sudden dip. Mid pace, sudden dip. Bad pace, sudden dip, puncture. But Enzo is already 3 seconds ahead. Let's see if he actually uses any of his ERS. He does, and now he's got a little bit of a slide, which may cost him just around 20 milliseconds. Okay, over a tenth. 2 tenths now. Who's going to actually win this one? This is between Zanetti and Tabani, of all people. We've expected Francesco Lago to continue his streak, maybe Enzo Tabani to join because of his great qualifying pace. Leon Baumgarten is spun round on the Hamilton straight. No damage though. And Tabani already 2.8 seconds ahead of Alessandro Zanti. Can Alessandro Zanti make actually a move on track? If he regains that quickly, also Morgan 3-second time penalty. Congratulations, as Kalpur can probably to retire. And he's chasing down the fastest lap. They might have not changed his wing. I just realized. And are they doing this now? Yeah, they are. He's not going to be lapped at least. But this is far from great for Kyle Pulkkinen, who was on course for a top 5, maybe thinking of a podium. Then this near disaster, near Monza S3 repeat. If you're wondering, this is where Maxim Rodriguez has also taken part in the collision. And left with no damage as the only one. The rest of the grid, basically, everyone's been involved from like P3 down. P2 even. As Francesco Lago makes him up on Michał Engel, and we thought he's not going to catch him soon. And he does. Just that. This is where there might be a fight for victory. We're watching Francesco Lago really much on the gearbox of Maxim Rodriguez for position number 3 on lap 22 of the British Grand Prix. All of what's left for Kyle Pulkkinen, by the way, is the fastest lap. We'll see if he gets it. Francesco Lago just about trying to make a move everywhere on Maxim Rodriguez, who's also chasing down that first win. Although nobody's getting that first win now apart from Enzo Tabani, because Tenzo is leading by over 3 seconds now. Is Francesco Lago making a move on Maxim Rodriguez now? He does. He makes that move. It's well ahead of the Alpine into Brooklands. We've also got a battle between Ludwig Stahlberg and Panos Nikolaidis, and that is for position number 7, but Panos is still 7, so he might be happy with that one, as well, Ludwig has got 8 seconds of penalties in total, and Francesco Lago makes a move on Kops to take potential lead of the British Grand Prix, and now he's going to chase down into Tabani. He's got fresher, soft tyres, which may play a massive advantage at the end of today's Grand Prix. Yeah, you can already tell he's 3.0 seconds behind from 3.2. Both of these drivers are having little ERS. All of them have gone into the pits. 3 stops for Kyle Pulkkinen, though. That is interesting. Michał Engel chasing down Maxim Rodriguez for position number 4, which clearly indicates that the mediums of Maxim that early were not the greatest strategy, as well as soft medium. Should have gone mediums at the start and then think. And softs are going to lose more at the later point of the Grand Prix. But remember, Francesco and Alessandro and Enzo are on a great pace so far. Having this weekend for the Aston Martins after mixed feelings after lap 1, where, if you're wondering, Federico Lanu has DNF'd on lap 1 thanks to a bit of Maxim Rodriguez's help. Not intentional though, just lap 1 collision. And today, and Panos Nikolaidis, although he's been disconnected in the Belgian Grand Prix for like half the Grand Prix, has actually finished 9th. And 8th after penalty for Ludwig. Kalle Pulkkinen, as we said, goes for the fastest lap, and he's now the fastest on the space of 1 lap in Silverstone, as Enzo Tabani has thrown his victory away with another 3-second time penalty, which pushes him down all the way to 5th. Which is not a great news for the Red Bull fighting for the constructors. Williams are leading, 27 points. And they are going to extend the lead over Red Bull. We've got Aurelio Penner as the race winner, making 26. So Williams are going to extend the lead because Francesco is getting 25 points. Enzo is getting only 10. Francesco is also on pole. 26 points for Williams, that is, versus 10 for Red Bull. Because Lucky Klauch, Paul Nader, I mean. I'm sorry, but I don't see him getting points today. Especially with the fact we've got less than 3 laps to go. So this is where the battle for the victory is going on now. Not on the first, but on the second. This is where we have to watch. I've seen a video of someone just cutting out a piece of paper with race results of real Formula 1. Just to make sure that Verstappen is not first and showing it as how to watch Formula 1 in 2023. And this is what we're actually having here right now. Don't care about Enzo, focus on the 2 Italians. And Maxim Rodriguez nearly out of the RS now. So in fact, Alessandro Tabani, in case you're wondering, you're fighting for the race win here. So it's in your best interest to push as much as possible for your first Ero PSF1 race win. It's very likely that an Italian will win. Unless these two will actually make a collision that will not end up in just a little bit of a how do I say, jump scare. This can mean that this would mean that Maxim Rodriguez would be on an open course to win, or Michael Gavin for the second time in Ero PSF1. Basically, we've got everyone on the way to get the first, if not since a long time, then in the entire career in this tier. Apart from Michaela, of course, because Lat has won PSF1 Spanish Grand Prix in Season 8. Season 8 basically was massive drama between 2 McLaren, 2 Mercedes drivers. Le Pen was won the championship, if you're wondering, spoiler alert. But a couple of the moments there were really interesting. And, in fairness, exciting after these years, not causing any personal damage to me, at least. Apart from those championships. Due to a collision in a certain track in United Arab Emirates. But while we focus on that, we don't know. I don't really know. 6/10 of a gap between Francesco and Enzo. Sorry, Alessandro. Enzo probably is just cruising to the line. Knows he will cross the line first. Michael Gavin made an overtake on Maxim, by the way. But Enzo knows that he'll probably cross the line first. So he might as well just give Francesco the RS. I don't know for what reason though. But still, just for a little bit of excitement. And if you want Aston Martins to get 1-2, you need top 5 to make carnage. And I don't think that's happening. It's one of the trillion scenarios. Which would be pretty funny though. As Francesco's having a slide. And he's nearly in the RS of Enzo Tabani. That is a massive sign. Alessandro about to use all of his power, and it might not be enough. He's got 10% left, and he's going to have less left But it's not going to work at all, because look who's first and look who's less than second. Okay, still over a second, but soon to be less than a second ahead of Francesco Lago. I hope my predictions are right though. Alright, we're seeing a move on the final corners. Francesco, Alessandro, Michael, Maxim. This is the likely order for today. And then Enzo, this is the likely order. Although Francesco's gone off track, this might be vital for the race win today. Alessandro Zanti using all of his power. He's going on the outside into stall, takes the lead on the final lap of the British Grand Prix. And that was easy, well made. But well done by Alessandro Zanetti, who's about to win Ero F1 British Grand Prix. Francesco's not going to make any desperate dives into any of the corners. And Stabani crosses the line first. But after 6 seconds of time penalties, it's Alessandro Zanetti with first win in Ero F1 career for him. Francesco Lago still second, still yet to win. Michael Angelian rounds out the podium on the third. Maxim Rodriguez on fourth ahead of Enzo Stabani. Then we've got Federico Olano, Panos Nicolaides, Jacob Tucker, Ludwig Staubach, Nassim Aznit, and then we've got Leon Baumgarten crossing the line on 11th, Paul Nadler, Morgan Mathieu, Kalle Pukinen. These are the results of today's race. Alessandro Zanetti wins for the first time in ERPS F1 for Ferrari, because as far as I'm aware, this is the first win for Ferrari since quite a long time. And maybe even season 1 days, if you're wondering. Let me see that. Archers of Yara, we're looking at PSF1. Because it was season 9, Le Pen Randall. Maybe something for Visser? No, it was Sabaton as well as... Yeah, no victories for Ferrari in that season. Season 8 hasn't seen a victory either. Season 7, Stein Avis on the podium was it. Season 6 as well. We're trying to find the last Ferrari win, if you're wondering what we're doing here. Jack Jessel, Season 5, Brazilian Grand Prix. F1 2020, if you're wondering. This is how long Ferrari had to wait for the driver to win. And they should be celebrating mad. Especially as an Italian wins. So, Italiano, Forza Ferrari, I don't even know. But this is wild. In all fairness, I expected Francesco on the podium and Alessandro Zanetti, but in the reverse order. As Federico, who are predicted to be third, finished 6th, so close enough. These are the race results though. The 14 drivers have finished the race. You can tell definitely by the names. And the last 3 are Chukfuma, Falcon, and Visey, who have not finished the race. And also, fun fact, these are the only 3 drivers who didn't make into 29s at least, or even 28s. So how about we move to the test screen? As basically we've seen everything regarding race results, and that screen has already ended. And if you're wondering, if you hear this sound, we joined the conference room. Definitely first thing I'm saying to Alessandro is that this is the first win for Ferrari since season 5. But overall, really good race, surprisingly clean. If someone's watched PSF2 yesterday and seen the havoc, the chaos, the mess, the pile-up, especially the one where 2 drivers decided to recreate what happened that Abu Dhabi race I was talking about in lap 25. But in all fairness, if there's no conference, that's still a little bit of a pulse race talk, as why not? I'll be joining soon, so. If they don't join like in a minute, then we're basically out of here, but they should be, at least this is what I've been told. Season 5, by the way, if you're wondering, 12 different race winners. And if I count the podium seaters, 13 is Rodriguez, 14 is Grimaldi, 15 is Kovac, 16 is Tivard. Yeah, 16 different podium seaters and 12 different race winners. This is how mad that scene was. Unfortunately, we'll not hear anything from Alessandro. So we're probably awaiting Michael and maybe Francesco. Only Michael. Yeah. And our podium sitter is now in. Hello.
What?
Expected podium, not expected? How you think?
Not expected. Not expected. But I mean, pace was always not too bad, but not the podium. A bit of luck too, I saw. With Max Rose penalty.
Max was actually called tires. It was Enzo who's got the penalties.
Oh,
if
okay.
you're wondering. But anyways, we must say this race was actually clean.
Yes.
Because what I've seen from the first laps, there was absolutely no collisions after like Anton Vissé spun round, which is brilliant racing standards.
I mean, I can only for the stuff I saw, and it was always medium hard to very hard, but never unfair or unsportish anyway, whatever. So it was pretty clean race and exciting race.
Yup. And definitely some fighting involved between you and Max was the one to watch. But you are probably just cruising at P6 and then the opportunity arose. Is this right? Because I'm just trying to recap the race. Because I've seen you like 3 seconds behind and then you're in the RS all of a sudden.
You mean in the first stint? When I was between the first and second group, basically, of cars.
Who spun that was Morgan.
Yeah, I only saw Haas. Yeah. And it was basically like, oh, come on, how should I get in DRS range? I was, as you said, 3 seconds behind. And I was hoping for that the people in front were battling a bit and losing a bit of time. And suddenly it happened, the Red Bull spun. And this was basically the one guy or car I needed that I get into the DRS range. The other guys in front.
Yep. I guess I'll be counting the standings soon, so I'll tell you which position are you in, but definitely you've promoted your ranks quite by a fair bit, overtaking Mr. Sabaton and Sabaton, yeah, but Le Pen not.
Which position is that? I haven't got it now in my head where I am.
As we're still on the stream, I'm trying to recap. Who was on 4th? That was Rodriguez. 5th was Stebani. Anyone ahead of you? Pulkinen just got the fastest lap, that's it. Stahlberg 10th. That means you are currently sitting on 4th in the championship, but 2 points behind Zanetti and Le Penru.
Yeah, I mean, Axe is missed today, obviously. He will get better results, I guess, in the next races.
Yep.
Yeah, still.
And I think that's it for today's little bit of a conference. As happy to have you in this one, and happy to have all of the drivers who are racing, and happy to have you viewers on the YouTube stream. As if you want, you can like and subscribe to the channel for future PSF1 and rest of the tiers races, which are pretty entertaining in all fairness, PSF1 being one of the examples. As what I want to say, thank you for watching. Next week we're into Austrian Grand Prix for round 3. Unfortunately, it's not going to have a sprint race like none of the races this season, but it's still going to be an interesting one, and especially the home race for Michael. So, any chance of a race win?
I hope so. I won this in F2 4 seasons ago. And yeah, hopefully. I'm very practiced at this racetrack also. And yeah, it feels more fluently this season with this cars on this game. And yeah, let's see, and hope for exciting race, of course.
Yep. And I believe that's it for today, so thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye!